Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about an expansion for Tiny Epic Galaxies called Beyond the Black. And this is published, of course, by Gamelin Games and designed by Scott Alms.
You guys, we've talked about Tiny Epic Galaxies. We've talked about Tiny Epic Galaxies Blast Off. We have talked about Ultra Tiny Epic Galaxies. We have talked about the little mini expansions that come with it. It's time to close out the saga by talking about Tiny Epic Galaxies Beyond the Black, an expansion to the base game, Tiny Epic Galaxies. Alright, in this game, there's more people to see, more things to do, but there's a lot of it's going to feel very familiar as well. I'm not going to teach you how to play. If you want to learn how to play that, go down to the description below. I will put a link to our original review where I teach the original game in full. But let me give you a quick kind of overview of what this new expansion adds. All right, here's our setup for the expansion parts of Tiny Epic Galaxies Beyond the Black. All right, the first thing, which is the silliest, but that's the thing I'm most excited for, is they actually provide a score track. Across the top here, we have got a score track. The game ends once one player reaches 21 points. Previously, in the original game, you basically had to call out your points and say, I have 13 points, I have 16 points, every time you got a new point. This kind of alleviates some of that weirdness. Okay, so I want to talk about this right here. This is the exploration space. You can send one of your ships here to explore. And when you do that, you're going to reveal the top card of the exploration deck. There is going to be a combination of red cards, which are bad, and green cards, which are good. They're all going to give you a little something, though. So this one says, for instance, take 2 culture. Also, it's going to give you 2 symbols here at the bottom. I'll talk about that later, but that's going to be kind of a set collection thing that's going to give you some extra points. All right, some of these will say, pay 2 resources to players of your choice, but you get a whole bunch of those symbols for the endgame set collection. This one actually acts like a planet. You have to actually place a ship there, and basically you're sucked into a black hole, and it forces you to go along this track, and your ship is stuck there until it's going to go on that track. You do get a victory point for it, though. So some of these give you victory points, some of them give you resources. It's just complete kind of a random exploration that you're going to do whenever you go to that stack there. The next thing we have is we have all these upgraded ships right here. This is what the original ships look like. I've got one here in black and one in yellow, because that's what the colors Bethany and I usually play. What you can do is you can hire a pilot using these various assortments of dice. And this one says it would take 2 of the diplomacy or 2 of the financial market, whatever that is. This one says take 2 of the move a ship or take 2 of the activate your capital. They all require different things you need to roll dice for in order to hire a pilot. And the pilots all have kind of based off of what they say here, different ships they can pilot. This one, they can pilot any of the 4 ships. It's got some special abilities down here. It's got a victory point, and it's got some more of those symbols there for the set collection at the end of the game. Some pilots can only, pilot certain ships. So we kind of have to keep track of which pilot is doing which ship, so that way they know which ship has the special abilities. Each one looks a little bit different, so that way you can kind of help tell them apart when they're out on the board, out and doing different actions on the board. The last thing I want to point out is the drone factory over here. This is kind of like a mini expansion. You don't have to play with this, but if you do, what you can do is you can spend any 2 dice you want in order to buy one of these drones. And basically, you're going to put it on one of your pilots that you've already bought. First of all, it gives you a point during the course of the game, so that way it kind of adds it to your score. But also, for the set collection at the end of the game, it's going to double the amount of symbols your character has at the bottom of their card at the end of the game. Now, why is all those symbols important? Well, because at the end of the game, you're going to get 2 victory points to whatever player has the most in each one of the categories. So there's 4 different symbols kind of shown there. There's like a blue, an orange, a purple, and a gray. And so each one of those individually is going to be scored and given out to players. 2 points per symbol to the player who has the most, 1 point per player with the second highest total of any given symbol. Just like before, the game end is triggered once one player reaches that 21 point marker, but then you're also going to have some end game points. So just because you're the first person to 21 does not necessarily mean that you're going to win. So you're obviously all those set collections are going to be given out. We also have secret missions, and there are some new secret missions, especially pertaining to some of the things that are new for this expansion. There's also new planets that are new for this expansion as well. But, as always, whoever has the most points at the very end of the game is declared the winner.
One of the things I like in expansions is where it's able to add more depth but not more complexity, and I felt like this game did this. I mean, you're literally doing the exact same things that you already know, using dice or moving your ships. So it just expanded on the mechanisms you already know instead of trying to teach you something brand new. And I thought that was very good and seamless to be able to integrate into the gameplay you're already familiar with.
I really enjoyed hiring these pilots. That was a lot of fun. First of all, at some point in the game, certain dice symbols don't really mean a whole lot to you.
Yeah.
After you've, ramped up your tracks or you've done whatever, certain dice symbols aren't as intriguing anymore.
Like the last quarter of the game.
Yeah. But when you're playing with the pilots, those dice symbols become relevant again because you can hire certain dice symbols and upgrade your ships based off of these odd dice that maybe you don't need anymore, which I like that a lot. I like having each ship have its own special abilities based on which pilot is piloting it. Before it was kind of, just, random ships, and you send them out wherever and they were whatever. But now, maybe you have this particular ship is better at exploring, so you send it off to explore. This particular ship is better at staying home and collecting resources, so you leave it there. This particular ship is better at going on these tracks, so you make sure it goes on one of the planetary tracks. I thought that was a really cool way to specialize the ships.
I did, this is totally a Bethany thing. This isn't necessarily a game's fault, but sometimes I forget which captain or which pilot I had with which ship, because some of them can pilot multiple types of ships, and sometimes you had those out there and you're like, wait a second, who did I assign you to? And the original game, without the playmat, had a board that
a little
helped
card,
you. Yeah, and so I would just recommend using that because it wasn't nearly as you could focus in and remember where things were. This game added a set collection aspect to it while still using the same gameplay that you're familiar with. And I thought it was really balanced. Every time that Ryan and I play this game, any version of the game, we're always a point away from each other. Always, all the time. And that was still the same with this expansion. Our scores were higher. But we are still super close neck and neck. So they had this set collection where you could do when you were expanding, whatever they call it, the void. What do they call it in the game? The circles.
Circles.
The circles, and then the pilots also had...
we'll call it deep space exploration or something.
The pilots also had these symbols on it, and some of the circles had this thing to where your ship had to stay there in order to get it, but it got you so many goodies. So this the expansion was just really balanced in that terms, that we are still super close point-wise.
This integrated seamlessly in with the base game. I mean, first of all, I gave you more of, all the things we talked about, the pilots and the exploration and all that stuff, but also gave you more of those secret mission cards from the base game, so that way you had more of those to explore. They also gave you more of the planetary cards. A lot of those benefits from the new ones usually involved exploration or pilots, so that was cool. It just gave you more of the same, but it just gave you more to see, more to explore, more to experience. And all is just kind of very seamless, just kind of just blended right in, shuffling cards together, and then you're ready to go. So I think that this was a really nice addition to the base game. As far as playing, I can suggest playing it both ways, both the base game by itself or adding in this. I think both times we're going to be satisfied. This we'll probably use if we have a little bit more time, or if we have just a little bit more depth. Again, nothing crazy, but just a little extra, +1.
Yeah, I feel like if you really like Tiny Epic Galaxies, if it's one of the games that you play a lot and you get to the table a lot, I feel like this would be definitely something to consider investing in, because it kind of just refreshes a game that you already love, right? It kind of just brings more life to something that you're already getting a ton of enjoyment out of. If Tiny Epic Galaxies is a game that doesn't get to the table a lot, then there's already enough there. There's already enough there to explore, and even though it'd be cool to check this out, you might not need it as much as if this is a game you get to the table all the time and you just want to freshen it up a little bit.
All right, you guys, be sure to hang on until the end of the year. We're going to be doing in December a full ranking of all the Tiny Epics, including expansions and everything. It's going to be insane. You're not going to want to miss it.
Epic.
Oh, me epic. Okay, I see what
Knee slapper.
I see what you did there. All right, so be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, so that way you don't miss out on that when it happens. And there's a whole bunch of other things we're going to be announcing soon, so hang on to your hats.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. You can also find us on Facebook, Ryan Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Twitter, we're Ryan Bethany 1. And on Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.